Pike's ultimate ability is to give salt to white progressive people. You see, the story goes there was this white chick that decided to cosplay as her favorite League of Legends character, Pike. And Pike gave salt to all the leftists because they went on the Twitter and were like, "Eh, that's racist! Do you know what you're doing to black people? How can black people in America survive if you're going to cosplay as Pike? Luckily, there is us to defend black people everywhere. We're so virtuous. We're so proud." I was a little bit bewildered that the old man was upset that this woman was putting on man face, empowering herself from the male gender, but I guess no one actually brought that up on the forums. No, everyone was livid. It's like, oh, Pike is black. Okay, right, let's look at the story. I asked my university professor at Black Studies, which has a degree in studying black people, to help me study Pike. Unfortunately, he was unavailable, so I'll do my best in order to study the history of this very interesting League of Legends character. The action takes place in the city of Bilgewater, which is a high fantasy setting for anything regarding pirates, sea adventures, smugglers, dock gangs, and anyone that's fleeing justice or some sort of death can find somewhat of a haven in Bilgewater. This is a place like Pirates of the Caribbean on steroids, where you're going to find everything from voodoo magic to giant snakes and krakens, all the way to eldritch horrors. It's one of my favorite settings within League of Legends, and if they ever make an anime, I would love to see more of this city. Still, with that said, Bilgewater seems to have been made great again, because I, with 2 degrees, had very much difficulty finding a job in the real world, but Pike, with no degrees, immediately landed a job as a sort of butcher. You see, one of the most beneficial trades of Bilgewater is to capture monstrous creatures and then hack them up into pieces, because their parts were valuable, either to be transformed into talisman for various ship captains, reagents for certain spells, or even to be consumed as food. And Pike was the man to do it. So he spends most of his formative years as a butcher of the monstrosities, but this was not something that he really enjoyed doing, not just because the work was messy and dirty, but also because it was poorly paid. And here the lore makes me jealous again for not being a person in Bilgewater, because not only do they not have to pay taxes for their jobs, it seems that finding one is quite easy. Only in a couple of days, Pike manages to land himself under a captain on a ship, setting sail to find some of those monsters he used to hack before. The reward for hunting monsters varied based on how difficult the hunt was, and the way these madmen used to hunt the monster was quite impressive. People would launch themselves, harpoon in hand, and starting to hack the monster while it was still alive and being dragged towards the ship. The reason for doing this was that certain organs and body parts would be more valuable if harvested raw. For example, pulling out the still beating heart from a sea serpent would have been a lot better, as it would retain its magical potency, versus just taking it from a dead animal, which would have been worthless. And Pike knew exactly how to cut and where to cut from his previous experience. Not only that, but he was also one of the most courageous hunters and quickly made a name for himself within the entire Bilgewater. And it's one of these days that the ship encountered one of the most difficult monsters to hunt, the jawfish. The jawfish would have raked a reward so high that it would be able to pay for a captain, its crew, and its entire ship 10 times over. And as the harpoon lines hit their mark and start pulling in the beast, Pike does what most League of Legends players do with their feet. They jump forth into the fray without waiting for their team. As such, Pike finds himself into the mouth of the beast and starts hacking away at the sapphire sacks, which were one of the expensive commodities that needed to be butchered. Pike fails to notice something, that the mouth of this fish looked incredibly ancient, far ancient than any other fishes that Bilgewater has encountered. And he also failed to notice that around his ship the water started bubbling and more jawfishes were raising from the depths, attacking his crewmen and his boat, causing the captain to easily lose his wits and cut Pike's own lifeline. The last thing that Pike managed to see was his crew with utter horror in his faces as the jaws snapped shut and Pike found himself trapped and being dragged into the depths under unbearable amounts of pressure caused by the ocean. He did not find death, however, as in the belly of the beast, blue lights started appearing that were whispering into his mind, and within the ocean depths, a contract was formed. Just as the captain asked him to kill fishes in exchange for coin, the fish asked him to slay captains in exchange for his life. And so it began in Bilgewater that a series of gruesome murders started appearing. Captains were found disemboweled, and pieces of them could be found in various places of the city. At first, no one seemed to care that much, because Bilgewater being what it was, a safe haven for criminals and dock gangs and pirates, people would think this to be normal. But as the murders intensified and more renowned captains were found dead, soon the phrase of "Are you a captain?", which was once a mark of respect and celebrity, has now become a cause for alarm. And as the number of captains became ever so dimmer, the murders started moving on to first officers, to merchants, to bankers, to anyone that was affiliated with the business of hunting mythical creatures. And so it was that a city, which prided itself on hunting monsters, now finds a monster hunting them, and Pike has no intention of stopping. I hope you like this little tidbit of lore. If I get a positive answer for this video, I'll probably make more. The lore from Legends of Runeterra is actually quite interesting. Very few people actually bother reading it. I guess it's because there's so little video and imagery of it. Much of it is in pure text and people just don't care that much. About Pike, he's a character that I really like to play. He is an assassin support, and I think he's one of the best characters that Riot has come up with. His strengths are quite obvious, and so are his weaknesses. He is basically like a hands-on approach character that likes to grab that ass of the enemy Sona and bring her closer. He also has a stealth ability so that he can watch from a distance like a pervert, and then a stun ability because a stunned Sona doesn't say no. But his most important aspect, and this is what defines him as a character, is his ultimate. Normally, the person that last hits an enemy champion gets 300 gold, and the people that do the assist get only 150. But with Pike's ultimate, he places an X on the ground and everyone gets 300 gold, which makes him the only character in the game capable of giving more gold to his team. At least this is in theory, because in reality what happens is if you have a Pike on the enemy team, he's going to be very skilled at using his ultimate and filling his teammates' coffers with coin. But if he is on your team, he is going to use that Your Mama's Blade and those boots that run really fast so he can go feed and also fill the enemy's coffers with coin. Now, his weaknesses are that he is really bad at 1v1ing anyone. Even when you have full build, a Sona can just smack his ass into the next Tuesday, so you always need to have teammates close by. The best way to play Pike is to try and land the skill shot with the Q in order to hook people and pull them closer so your team can do what needs to be done. Alternatively, you can just hover around and wait for the enemy team to get low, at which point you just go in and start spamming your ult. My favorite build is to focus on lethality and to also focus on items that give you a lot of movement speed so that you can get in really fast, pop your ult, and then run away. I think this is the best way to play Pike, at least in the current meta. So anyway, I really enjoyed doing this video. Let me know if you want to hear any more lore from Runes of Terra, and if you do, tell me which champion you'd like me to talk about, because there's several that I find quite interesting. Or I can also talk about specific places like Zaun or Damacia or Noxus. They're all really interesting cities with different forms of government. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Let me know what you think, and I'll be reading the comment section. Take care, and I'll see you guys on my main channel.